Hi.
Hey,
Hey, sister. How are you?
good. How are you doing?
I don't have no more gray.
I know. I was checking that out. You're looking pretty beautiful there, sister. I love that. It looks
It's
gorgeous.
it's darker, but So
Yeah,
I'm
I love
sure I'll
it.
be getting some comments here pretty soon about it. So,
What's that?
so I'm sure I'll be getting some comments pretty soon about it.
Maybe like, what happened to Chrissy's hair?
So we have today's guest is from the UK. I'm really excited for him to come on. This guest has done so many um, things, has many hats. It's going to be incredible. I'm
I know.
just
I'm
so
excited.
excited. Yes, yes, and I bet you are excited because you two
Hmm.
have a lot in common too, as well.
Yes, and I'm most excited about Most Haunted too. That's what put
Oh,
me on the map. Was that show? That was what garnered me into like, this is paranormal. I can do this stuff. So
hmm.
very excited about that too.
Well, I guess we better have him come on. So,
Absolutely.
with our guest is Barrie John from the UK. He's a multi-award winning psychic TV medium, presenter, broadcaster, speaker, paranormal investigator, and a communist. With over 40 years of experience working with the public eye, his services covers a wide range of areas in the UK. And he also has a website which is posted down below. So to bring him on, let's welcome Barrie John. Hi,
Hello.
Barrie.
Hi, Barry.
Don't
Thank you
mention my
for
grey. Look, I've got lots of grey coming through, so don't mention grey.
yeah, don't. But
You
we're
two
all
just
20.
look great. You look great.
But we're all just 29.95. You know, it's Walmart. Prices are dropping.
I
It's
was
great to be with you, and I've been really looking forward to this. It's.
good.
I'm one of these. I love talking about mediumship, paranormal, what we all do, and I think it's great that we can all, pardon how I say this, cross the channel and share it with
Mhm.
each other as well, which is tremendous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It truly is.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Yes. I had gray hair for like 7 years, 6 years probably, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. And yeah, it's a shocker after you've been gray for so long and go back. It's like, oh gosh.
You look great.
It's
Honestly, you look great.
so I look in the mirror and it's like, ah, who is this person?
Bless.
So,
Oh, fabulous.
but Barry, you have done so much. I mean, a broadcaster, a presenter, speaker. Where did this all start? By
Do you
what
know,
age? What time?
I love that question. I really do, because it's where it really buzzes for me, going right back to childhood. And people, I don't know, certain people hit a point in their life where something happens, and I call it your ability just wakes up.
Mhm.
But for me, I've always had it from being a child, and I remember probably 5, 6 years of age looking out of the window and seeing people walking backwards and forwards and waving at me. And my mum used to say, who are you looking at? And I used to go, oh, I don't know who they are. I don't know. And at times I used to almost see things falling from the sky, like shapes and weird designs and things as
Mhm.
well. So it was something I'm really proud of, actually. I've got to say that. And my family really encouraged it. My mum's line were very much into their sort of mediumistic side. And when I look back, I often think that my mum probably was almost teasing me in a way, because she knew I had the ability. I believe that as a medium, you can see other people's ability and where they are. And it was just very bizarre, that I suddenly started reading tarot cards at a very young age. And it became a little bit of a family party game, really, where when,
Oh.
members of the family used to come round, my mum would say, oh, get your cards out and pull a card for your auntie or your uncle. And I used to do it. But they used to go, well, how do you know that? And I used to go, I don't know. And
Yeah.
it was almost like, and Red, I'm sure you understand this, but it's almost like a natural reaction that started to
Hmm.
take place. And you know, you go through life, don't you? You know, we go through professions in life. And I was laughing there when Red was talking about a husband being a bean counter, because I actually come from a construction background. So I fully understand what a bean counter is, because I was a chartered surveyor. So I understand when people talk about bean counters.
Right.
But you sort of go through life and your ability stays, but you don't develop it as quick as what you really should. And then probably a little bit later on in life, you know, I thought, actually, I've got to really develop this. You know, I've got to do something with it. And, you know, the last, nearly 30 years now, 25, 30 years, I've been in TV and obviously the public media over here in the UK. But even before that, I used to dabble with mediumship. You know, I used to dabble with ghost hunts, the paranormal. So there comes a long line of tuition, teaching, mediumship demonstrations, ghost hunt shows, you name it. But I just have, I suppose in a way, I count myself as being very blessed, because I've had so much that has happened to me that people now come up and ask me and say, well, how do I start and how do I get into it? And I go, you know what, it's been a lot of years of real hard work in promotions, podcasts, writings, columnists, articles. You know, you do everything you can to advance it. And, you know, it's just such a pleasure for me seeing people when they come to a show, a demonstration or a mediumship night, and go away with a different look on the face, almost like a look of relief, I want to call it, in a way, you know, where they go, you know, it's bizarre, because when you read for people on a private basis, and, you know, you've got, I mean, I'm sat in my little consultation room at home at the moment, and it's lovely, because I always say to people, I work with my eyes shut. I said, I don't see what's happening to you. If you're going to get upset, you get upset. If you're meant to get upset, it's happening for a reason. It's your time to release. And whatever you do in this room here stays in this room here. I just waft it out the window when you've left. But it's just a great pleasure. It really is, just being able to do what I do and talk to you wonderful people.
Well, like we said, we're glad to have you here. Now, I know that, let me see, 40 years, she said. Man, that's a long time. Not trying to tell your age or anything. Okay. Now, over the years, have you encountered, and I'm sure you have, lots of skeptics, or criticism, you know, rudeness?
Absolutely. Do you know, I was talking to somebody last night. The first time I did a proper sort of demonstration, I mean, I wasn't very old, as you can imagine, and I did a demonstration, and I remember there was some elderly ladies on the front row, you know, and I went over to them afterwards, and I said to them, "Oh, did you enjoy the show?" And they said, "Oh, yes, we did. But you're very young to be a medium. You can't be a medium at your age because you've not experienced anything." And you know, when I was almost a bit taken aback, thinking I didn't realize that there was an age that you had to be a medium. You know, and I think for us over here, what we tend to see, or what I tend to see, is a lot of almost, I'm going to call it jealousy or egos coming in, where people almost look at you and judge you before they know who you are. And I think that's really sad in a way, you know, and especially when you start getting into the public light, especially in terms of television, I know you set yourself up almost to be a little bit of a firing line to a point, because there's so much that is out there that everybody wants a little bit of it. Everybody wants a piece of it. And I got so tired of all the comments coming back at times. And there was times, and I'll be very honest, there was times where I just wanted to go, this is just not worth it anymore. This isn't what I believe in anymore. But I had to keep going, and I kept going for the people that did support me, you know, the people out there who did want to keep messaging me, seeing me on TV. And you know, one of the programs I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute is Most Haunted. But remember, Most Haunted for me, I was on Most Haunted in 2007, I think it was, off the top of my head. That's nearly 20 years ago now.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
but do you know what? The funny thing is, I can tell where it is in the world at any one time, because suddenly we'll get a load of emails from like Japan or I don't know, from South America or somewhere, and you think, oh right, and then somebody will post on my page and go, we've just seen you on Most Haunted this morning or something. And it's fantastic. You know, I absolutely love it. But I think with any industry, not just mediumship, any industry, once you get out there into the public light, you know, people automatically start taking an aim at you.
Yeah.
It's true, unfortunately. And yeah, there's a lot of jealousy, especially I think surrounding not so much the paranormal investigator world, unless you're a Shane Pittman, Dave Schrader, or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But for mediumship, I find that, you know, people are constantly, I should say constantly, I shouldn't use that word, but I feel like they are very jealous, and they always say, I wish I had that gift. And it's like, well, yes and no. And I'm sure you feel the same way, because you even just said it. There's times where you go, I just don't, I want to quit, because it's like lost, it's luster, etc. But it's like, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, you know?
It really is. But you know, over here, one of the things I noticed, especially when it was COVID time, you know, when it was 2020, everybody wanted to be a medium, because you could sit on your laptop at home, you could go onto Facebook, you could do a live on Facebook, you could give thousands of readings to people. People would then start booking you for a reading. But the thing was, the quality of people wasn't very good, if that makes sense. You know, you're getting people who literally are just picking up a pack of cards now and going, oh, I'll pick you a card. Chrissy, I'll pick you a card.
Yeah.
Me, it's a lot more than that. It's the training behind it. It's knowing what to say. It's knowing what not to say as well. Because, you know, in what we do, I always say there's a very, very fine line between mediumship and counselling. And we have to know the position that we're in with an individual, with a client. And sometimes it might be necessary to almost signpost somebody to another support service, as we call it over here, where maybe they don't need to see me. Maybe this person needs bereavement counselling, or you know, they need to grieve in a way. And this is where I found it very sad with that COVID period, where everybody thought it was just a quick win situation for them, which is very sad, because like myself, like Red, like all of us, we've all been in this a long time, and we've experienced a lot of good and bad things. You know, we've all, pardon how I say this, we've all been shot at in some way or another by somebody, and especially people that want something that they can't get from us, is what the way that I'll say that. You know, people, you know, I did a show, I did 2 shows last week. One of them was 100 people, and people all expect a message, but I can't read 100 people in a night. It's impossible. It really is. And then at the end of it, I remember talking to this lovely lady, and, you know, I'd given her a reading, and I said, oh, you know, did you enjoy the show? Oh, yes, I did, but I wanted more. And I said, well, the thing is, this is not a private reading. This is a show. This is a demonstration show where I try and get round as many people as I can. Normally around 15 to 20 people in 2 hours, which I think is pretty good.
Yes, that's phenomenal. Yes.
Yeah, but you can't give everybody a private reading. It's impossible.
No.
You know, and that's where I get quite saddened by it, because I think certainly over here, and I don't know if it is same in the USA, but over here, I think people's expectations are sort of up here now. They're just through the roof. You know, they want every little detail when you're giving them a message. And I've always said to all of my clients, whatever I give you, take it away with you. You know, ask the family, you know, look for it. And I can guarantee most of them will send me an email in the next couple of days and say, I've spoke to my mum, spoke to my dad, you were right in what you said. but you know, people expect everything in a few minutes, absolutely everything. And I love it when you're giving people a message and they'll go, well, that's not the person I wanted to talk to tonight. And it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to send them back? Do you want me? I'll tell them. I'll just tell them that you don't want to. You know, bearing in mind this person's come from the other side to say hello to you,
Right?
And now you're basically saying to them, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you tonight."
I don't want to talk to you. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. You know, but I think I mean, gosh, how long have I trained people now? Probably getting on for 25, 30 years, maybe a bit more. And I always say to all of my students, I want you to be better than me. Use me as an example, but I don't do everything right. I do shortcuts. You know, I've done this for so long. You know, I know how to shortcut things, and even to the point where they'll all go, "Oh, you know, do you protect yourself? Do you ground yourself? Do you do this before you go to a show?" And somebody actually said to me yesterday, she said, "Do you meditate before every reading?" And I said, "No, never. I haven't done that for a long time." It's like I haven't got the time, you know. And
that's just it. It's a time thing, yeah.
Absolutely, but you know, I believe in what we do. There's an instant and natural connection. If the spirit world are going to come through for one of you, they're going to come through now. They're not going to go, "Oh, Barrie, you just need to meditate for half an hour." Yeah, you're going to have to meditate for half an hour to tell Red that her dad's with her tonight. You know, do you know what I mean? It's like you don't need to. But that's something that comes with experience in what we do. And I think people forget that a lot of the time. But I do enjoy it. But I've got to say, sometimes the ridicule is the one thing that always gets me a little bit. And the problem is we're empaths. We have a real energy about us. And if somebody puts a knife in that energy in whatever aspect they do, that really can affect us, you know. And I always say to people, don't argue with me before I go on to do a stage show. Don't upset me or anything, because if you do, that energy is there with me through the show, and I can feel it. And you get quite anxious with it, if you know what I mean, and it stays, doesn't it?
Yep.
But it's
I
interesting.
completely relate to that 100%. I had a situation where I had a former friend that wanted me to do a reading for another friend. And it's like, okay. And I didn't know this girl at all. And I'm like, okay, fine, I can do this. You know, it's not a big deal. She comes over to my house to do it. And so I give her the reading, and it happened to be her stepfather and her grandmother. And I didn't pull the name for the stepfather, but I pulled the name for the grandmother. In fact, I nailed it to the point where I knew that her newborn daughter, who I didn't know she was pregnant or had a child, she had named the daughter, her middle name was intended to be Gloria, but when she was born, she decided to change the name to be Gloria as the first name, and that was her grandmother. So I did this entire reading and gave the message to her from both the grandmother and the father. And then she turned around and said, "Well, you didn't get the father's name, so."
I understand that. It's almost as though you've not done your job. You've not done what I asked you to do. And I totally understand that, you know. And there is times, you know, I always tell a story at my shows. And I remember reading for a lady many, many years ago. And exactly like you, I'd given her all this information. She understood it. She loved the reading. It was brilliant. And at the end of it, all she said is, she says, "There's just one thing you didn't do for me." And I'm thinking, well, what didn't I do? You know, what didn't come through? And she says, "You didn't bring my dog through for me." And I have to say this, you know, one of the things I did say to her was, well, unfortunately, I'm not Dr. Doolittle. But at one point, I just wanted to sit there and just go woof or something. Do you know what I mean? So she thought, I brought your dog through. And it's a question we always get asked, isn't it? Do animals come back from the spirit world? Absolutely, they do.
Yes, they do.
But I can't communicate with an animal. You know, if they're going to come through, they'll come through with somebody's mother, grandmother, father, mother, sister, whoever. But the only thing that I feel or that I see is this is a small dog. This is what it looks like. It's a big dog. But I don't get communication with that animal. And I think people get very confused with that with us as mediums.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and there are individuals out there like Natalie Lucia that we just interviewed. What was it, last week or the week before? I mean, that's one of her,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of her specialties is that she can do that with animals. And
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
fabulous. I am more
Brilliant.
like you. I don't really communicate with them as much
Oh,
as I see them. Like I'll
yeah.
see them with, like you just said, it's instantly I'll
Mm,
see them being held by another loved one that's related to the
absolutely.
individual, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you could say Fluffy is safe and sound with your
Right.
mom, you know, or something like that.
And
So
and you know, it really fascinates me. I mean, I've got a wonderful friend who does talk to them, and you know, she's been to my house, she's talked to all my animals, you know, and it's wonderful when I see her do it. And sometimes I feel like going, well, how do you do that? But then I suppose she must think the same about me with mediumship. She must think,
right.
well, how do you do what you do? You know, and it's one of those where I just think, do you know what? I've got enough on talking to the spirit world. I don't want to start talking to animals as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like for me, I always say it's Graham Central Station, you know,
Yeah,
whenever I go
yeah,
anywhere, you know, it's
yeah,
like you see, like you said, you see people walking down the street, you know, and things like
yeah.
that. And it's the same way for me too. So then if you do that, it's like, wow, it's going to be very crowded out there.
And also, I think people, they don't understand that what we do, we're able to turn it on and off, or we're able to choose the moment. Because the way that I always say it to them, I don't go around my local supermarket and go up
Mhm.
to everybody in an aisle and go, oh, by the way, your mum's with you, your brother's just coming through, I've got a child for you, I've got,
Right.
you know, dad coming
Mhm.
through. Because I always look at it and think, well, you don't know what people's beliefs are, first of
Thank
all,
you.
or
Yeah.
religious beliefs. You know,
Mhm.
some people, I had a lady who come to my show last week, I gave her a reading, and in the middle of the reading, I stopped and I said, your dad's telling me you don't believe in the afterlife, do you? And she looked at me, and all her friends like just didn't know what to say. Yeah, and she said, I don't believe in it. I said, but I've just brought your dad through for you. She says, yeah, and I could see the confusion in her mind then, thinking, I don't believe this, but he's brought my dad through and he's giving me
Yeah,
all this
exactly.
information. And then that was it, you see, because I'm very humorous when I work. So I actually picked on her all night then as my non-believer, you know. But you know, I think that is, I think spirit always do that. They'll always go for a skeptic, they'll go for a
Hmm.
non-believer to start
Hmm.
off with. And you see it, gentlemen, when gentlemen come to shows, and you know, obviously I'm a man, you know, but I find it fascinating because I always make a little bit of a joke with them first of all, and I go, oh, you know, so nice to see the gentleman here. Obviously, there's no football on TV tonight, you know, and they've all come along with the partners, you know, but you can guarantee that one of the men will get a message, and you just see them almost think, why is this working? How does this work? You know,
The wheels are
and I just,
turning.
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the good thing is through all the television profiling that everybody's got, but not only that, through the shows that have kept the spirit connection, if I word it as that, it's brought this tremendous following. And I always say to people, if it hadn't been for certain programs in, you know, on TV, would you still believe in what we do? Would you still go on a paranormal investigation? Would you come and
Hmm.
see me as a medium? And
Right.
I imagine if we didn't have that TV profiling, and I'm just talking of you know,
The
the
general.
ghost, paranormal, yeah, general, I don't think we'd have the following what we've got.
Hmm. Yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's true. Well, and like I said, you know, like I told Christy, I was super excited, you know, when I was reading your bio and realized, you know, Most Haunted, because that was, I felt like you, very similar situation growing up being a medium at age
yeah,
5, although I never really had the support. I had the support network behind me from my father and my grandmother, but my
yeah,
mother was highly religious. And so therefore it was like, it
yeah,
was taboo to discuss it around her. So I kind of dabbled, you know, I always say I had my little pinky toe in the water, you know,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
but when Most Haunted came on, I mean, I loved that show. I mean, it was like, you know, don't bother me, my show's on type of thing, you know, and I watched it for a number of years and I'm like, I want to be a paranormal investigator. I mean, that
yeah,
was
yeah,
like in the back of my mind before I basically
yeah.
came out of the mediumship closet, you know, and then decided like you to do the same thing. Like basically I got to do something with this gift and
Mhm.
I want to give back, you know, type of idea. So I loved that show. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
be able to have, worked with it.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. And I have to say, even to this day, because people will say, well, you always knew where you were going. I never knew where I was going. All I'd get told is to turn up at a hotel for a certain time, depending on when the show was. You might actually stay the night before. Most of the time you arrive sort of mid-afternoon. They'd come and pick you up, and then you go straight into where you were going. But
Right.
I have to say, I never, ever, ever knew where I was going. Never.
Right.
And even to this day, when I do paranormal investigations, I always say to people, I don't want to know any history. I don't want to know anything about this building. And I always refer to it that I go in naked. Well, I don't mean I go in naked, by the way.
Right.
But I go in with this vision of a wonderful building that I know nothing about. And then that's when my mediumship starts coming in. And there's a lot of groups over here now that don't use mediumship on their events, on the paranormal investigations. And I always think, well, that's such a shame in a way, because I think your medium is the best tool ever. Right. And really everything else, any equipment you use, should really come off of the back of the medium. If I'm stepping into a building and saying, oh gosh, I'm finding there's a lady on the staircase, then I want somebody to go over there with some form of equipment, or even just a member of public sit on the staircase and go, do you know what, this fourth step is colder than all the rest, or something. And I think it's such a shame, and again, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and they were saying on one of the investigations they'd been on, as soon as any sort of spirit communication came through, the paranormal group closed it down, didn't want that. They didn't want it. And I said, so what were you trying to investigate then if you didn't want the spirit connection? Because that's what we're there for. We're there to, let's be honest, we believe the spirit world are intelligent. We believe that they're able to communicate, and that's what we want them to do. Not go, oh yeah, the spirit world are here. Sorry, close the door. We don't want you today. Very bizarre. Yeah. Very bizarre.
That is bizarre. Yeah, I'm the same way with you. I mean, the one show that we're still in production in Tombstone, same thing. I mean, I didn't know what I had a vision of the building, and I actually sketched it out, and it matched, which was very cool. I love that, the validation of actually going, oh yeah, I saw that clear as day.
Yes.
But I walked, they literally walked me in with a blindfold, and I walked into the building, and then still being blindfolded, told them what happened in each and every single room. So I do the same thing like you do. And that is basically walk in naked. I don't want to know. Don't tell me,
Yeah. Now, I've no problem at the end if somebody then wants to go, well, actually, Barry, in this room, you mentioned, I don't know, the name of Elizabeth. Well, yeah, that connects to the house. You mentioned an old man connecting in this room. Yeah, that connects. I've no problem with that. But don't tell me before, because I've seen it all too often. And I always say this to people over here. The problem is we have some tremendous history, same as you do over there. I mean, I work in two buildings, and they're both nearly 1,000 years old. I'm a historical tour guide. I can trace the history back of the buildings. It's what I do. I talk about history to people. But you've got to be able to sort of explore that with people as well. You've got to be able to go into it and go, right, this is what we're getting, this is what we're picking up. But the thing is, a lot of places nowadays are basically piggybacking onto the paranormal. And I always say to people, don't ever read anybody's website. Don't go to a building and read the website, because they might have had one experience in 200 years. And that's one thing that they'll hold on to. And you've got to be careful of that. You've got to remember that for me, it's what happens at that night when you're there. Not what happens the 100 years before, what happens 100 years after. That one night is when we try and make something happen paranormal for people.
Exactly. It's very true. Very true.
Yeah. So how do you find it? Because obviously history over here is just, well, it's just phenomenal at times when we start going back into some of the old buildings. I mean, I work at two very old abbeys, two very old religious buildings originally, and then they became family homes. But we get so much coming through, we get shadows. And even for us, when public come in on a day when we're open to have a look round, and people will talk about children, waiting for children to move so they can take a photo. Oh, there's an animal here. You know, we're waiting for the animal to move so we can take a picture. And we think, but there's nobody there, you know. But that for me is great from a mediumistic perspective, but also for the public coming in, because it shows me that people are becoming more open to what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely. More in tune. You know, and I always say that, you know, something will happen in your life that sort of wakes up your senses at times, whether that be you know, an accident, something traumatic in terms of illness, maybe losing a very close member of family. And suddenly you become very fascinated about the other side and what's happening, you know, and you want that excitement all the time, don't you? That's the thing.
It's like an adrenaline push. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, I think it's wonderful that we're seeing all these shows coming out now, you know, these TV shows that is creating this, let's call it, new following, because what we don't want is people of a certain age and suddenly they all drop off, you know, we all pass over and then there's nobody else coming.
And there's nobody else. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no, it's very true.
You know, I've just had a message. I've just had a message before I come online where I'm doing the show next Tuesday, and somebody just messaged me and said, "Oh, do you mind if my 15-year-old daughter comes with me to your show?" And I said, "No, not at all. It's a mediumship demonstration. So long as they're with an adult, I'm absolutely fine with it, because I believe that they're the people we want to be educating now and getting into what we do. Not saying, oh no, don't come to it because it's not really your sort of thing. It's you know, you're too young." Because nobody ever said that to me. Nobody ever said to me, "Oh, you're a young child. You shouldn't be seeing what you're seeing." I mean, I mean, it did used to make me chuckle, because some of my aunties, one of my aunties specifically, when I started really getting into the TV and that, and she sent me a message once and she said, "You just be careful what you're dabbling with, young man." You know, and it really made me smile in a way, you know, it just made me smile. I mean, I'm sat in a room here that's literally full of Ouija boards. There's about 4 Ouija boards down here at the side of my sofa. Honestly, there's everything in here. There really is, you know, and it just fascinates me when people come to my house, because I have a lovely one that I used to have out on the dining table. It's a big slate one with a big glass top.
Oh, I love that. How cool.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. And I always used to have it out on the table. And when people used to come in and see it, you could almost go, "Oh, we've got to go now."
Yeah, exactly.
I love Ouija boards. I mean, so many people are so scared of them, but I think they're scared of them because they don't really know how to use them.
That's correct.
You know? But I don't have no issues with them at all. I use them for years, and yes, I love them.
You know, I always call it the exorcist moment when people mention them, because if you talk about them at any event, whatever it is, and you see people go, "Oh, he's bought a Ouija board." Yeah, absolutely. And I always go, "Oh, that's the exorcist moment that's just come in for us there," you know. And I go, "No, I don't do pea green soup or anything like that," you know. And it's that story as well, isn't it? You know, you must have had this where people go, "Well, do you take them home with you afterwards? Do they follow you home?"
God, yes. Yes.
And, you know, and I always say this on the show as well. I always say to people, you know, it makes me laugh. I always say at the end, I always go, "Right, you can take all your relatives home with you, because I don't want them. I've got enough of my own at home." You know.
Yeah, I have my own. Thank you.
Absolutely. But I love it that people go through that exorcist moment, and we've all done it. I mean, we've all seen the films, we've seen Conjuring, all of them, you know, and you know, I'm a big follower of Ed and Lorraine Warren and people like that as well. But you know what we have to remember, same as ghost hunting shows or paranormal shows, this is entertainment as well as now. And you know, people don't realize that to make a 45-minute TV show, you're probably filming for anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Now, I'm an Aries. Absolutely. And I'm an Aries. And I always say to them, I don't have a lot of patience as an Aries. I get very bored if I'm sat there and nothing's happening. So, you know, I want things to happen all the time. But it's just bizarre, isn't it? And I love what Chrissy is saying when you're saying, you know, you love the boards, because, you know what, I've used them for years. I really have. And if people come on my events, unless it's a religious building or still got an element of religion to it, I won't use them. But if it's just an old house, I'll go, right, let's get people on them, because what you find is it's not just the spirits of the house that connect, it's
Right.
loved ones that come through, because we're just a vessel of light, whatever you call us. And as soon as the spirit world see our little aura flashing up here, or our red light, whatever you wish to call it, they go,
Right.
oh, we're going to go into there and we're going to have a chat with our loved ones and let them know that we're all okay. So,
There
you know,
some friends that want to say hi. We have Paranormal Talk or Truth. I'm sorry, Paranormal Truth UK.
yeah, that's Jamie and Ruth. They're very good friends of ours. They're part of our team over here in the UK as well.
Awesome!
You need to get them on the show. Get them on the show.
Get them on the show, and then we have Paranormal Path 1 that says hi, everyone.
This is
Barrie,
Jackie,
if you tell us to get somebody on the show,
we do.
We're going to do it.
We do.
Honestly, I can give you some wonderful recommendations of people. I mean, Jamie and Ruth, they're part of our paranormal group, but they also do their own thing as well. Jackie's got her own little group as well, but me and Jackie work together. So we're doing Nottingham Castle, which is a beautiful old building. That's coming up next Friday.
Awesome.
And me and Jackie was actually there on Sunday, sort of stalking the place out a little bit and deciding what rooms we were going to use. But I mean, the lovely thing is, what I find in this industry, you make really good, genuine friends, a lot of the time. And
I will agree.
Me and Jackie must have known each other now for 15, 20 years. It's got to have been, and what's lovely for me is the people that keep coming back to our events. These aren't people who just suddenly appeared over the last few months. This is people that have come back, because they always say, we love how friendly you are. You just let us get on with it. You don't tell us you can't do this. And I go, no, because I believe that any event should be your experience, not my experience. I'm just there to help you enjoy it. Yeah.
I just got the light bulb came into my head while you were speaking about Jamie and other teams up there. Wouldn't it be a good show, Medium Red, to have, because we do a lot of paranormal teams over here in the USA, but we did Dark Side Seekers or Dark Spirit Seekers to compare the paranormal over here. But what if we have different teams from the
UK
to get together and just discuss?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Do you know what would be great? To discuss how we investigate and how you investigate and see if we do anything different between us. That'd be a fantastic show. It really would.
I think it's a great idea.
And with you, like you said, you have Paranormal Truth and Paranormal Path. They come on with you. We also have another UK team that we work Beth over there.
Michelle and
Michelle Mark. Yeah.
Mark,
So
I can't remember his name.
it will be really nice to just all get together on your guys' time, UK time. I don't mind, in the daytime.
Yeah. It's fine.
And just kind of do a powwow, because I think it'd be interesting, because like you said when you came on, you don't know for sure how the USA does the investigation. So and I'm sure that there's a lot of USA teams is like wondering the same thing about the UK teams. Like, well, how are they doing this? Do they use a Ouija board, for instance?
Cameras.
Yeah.
Or just and just like Barrie was saying, like some of the teams don't even use a medium. And I love that you asked that question on the Facebook page, Chrissy. That I mean, the results were heavily weighted more on the fact of, well, yes, a medium is like, I mean, if you ask the two teams that I consult with, they'll tell you that their best ghost tool is me. I mean, Medium Red is their best ghost tool. So, I mean, I agree with you 100%, because it is. It's like I go in and I don't know anything about a building. I actually can channel before I get to the building and know exactly what's going on prior to, and then walk in and confirm it. And then I want the I want the mechanical, the technological stuff to back up and validate what I'm getting. And it does. And I just don't see how teams don't want to rely or have at least, like David Wells has his, I think it's David Wells. David Wells has his medium in Switzerland, and she does everything remotely from Switzerland on his show.
Some Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he also started a Para-Unity, which is in April. That he's invited all paranormal teams to come and just hang out for the weekend. I think there's going to investigate.
I can't remember what building, to be honest. I can't remember. I'd have to look it back up again.
In Michigan. So he is looking for a guest speaker, though, still, I think. But yeah, if I was not busy at that time, I would definitely go because the price is good. They have a great lineup. So yeah, it's great.
I just think that Para-Unity, as I like to call it, is so vast now, that even across the water, there's no reason why we can't do exactly what we're talking about there and team up across waters. Because, there's so many things that we could probably share in terms of practice. I mean, I do a lot of table tipping, table levitation work. I sit for physical mediumship. We've sat for physical now for 10 years. Trans mediumship, when I do readings, sometimes I'll just do a straightforward reading like we're talking now. Or if somebody says to me, would you go deeper? Well, yes, I'll do you a trance sitting. And there's so much more that you can utilize. And that's why, like what we were saying about people not using mediums for their key tool. And I think the medium should be the key tool. They should be the person when you're going on an event, they should be the one doing the walk round, the one doing the talk to the public, the one who's giving those messages to people as well, And I think it's very difficult because I think, how do these groups manage if you haven't got that individual? And then to turn around and say, well, actually, if we're getting spirit communication, we tend to close it down.
Yeah, again.
You shouldn't be closing it down. That's
right.
That I would utilize that, and I'm sure you would. You'd utilize that to go, right, okay, tell me something about yourself. Tell me something about the building. When did you die? What year is it? What's your name? And all these traceable pieces of information that come through, and that's what I'd rely on if I was an interested person wanted to go on a ghost hunt. I'd want somebody telling me what they were seeing and what was there all the time. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because I just did an investigation for, ironically enough, one of the teams that I consult with. A gentleman the lead investigator bought a house, and he's got activity. And so we went in and did a baseline, and then went in to do an investigation. And I picked up the name Michael, and it was great because the spirit box. We did a spirit box session, and we got Michael. So, I mean, that was, again, it's like, now who is in your house. He has a name, and this is his background. So, I mean, how do you get that information if you don't have a medium? Because you're not going to get that all that information in a spirit box session. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I think the other thing over here is, I don't know about in the USA, but we've got lots of apps now on phones, like Ghost Finder apps. And, they're the one thing that infuriate me now on events, because people pick up the phones and walk around with the phones and they go, oh, look, there's a ghost. And I go, but that's basically a game. It's a toy. It's not doing what
it's not
we
real
do.
Equipment. Right.
No, absolutely. And people forget this, and I think sometimes some of the equipment can almost take over, if that makes sense. And I don't mean that in a good way either, because I think there is so much equipment now. I mean, when we do an event, we'll give all the teams a box of equipment. There'll be things in there like pendulums, dowsing rods, EMF K2s, just general bits. Right. Now, we all know that there isn't anything such as a ghost hunting tool. But what we've tried to do is utilize things that we can, like cat balls. Have you seen those little flashing cat balls? Do you have them over there?
We do.
Brilliant.
We do.
I love them. You know, to put in a room and you set them up somewhere, put them on a on a side somewhere out the way, and I just think they're tremendous because as soon as it goes off, that to me shows that something's happening. Now, okay, sometimes we might be able to explain it out and go, well, actually, it wasn't paranormal. Somebody opened the door. Absolutely. And I think that's also part of our role. I think we should be there to be honest, is what I'll say. If we feel that's not paranormal activity, I will say it to people and go, that's not right. There's something not right with that. And, you know, I don't want people going away thinking every little move that we make, every little noise we make, every room we go in, it's all ghosts and ghouls and, you know, hobgoblins and things like that. You know, you've got to have common sense with it really as well.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I mean, we had a case that, which I didn't realize. I mean, I love it when I get cases that I learn something new. We actually had a woman who I don't think her electricity was grounded in her house. So she had so much the electrical field going through her house was just incredible. You would take an EMF reader and put it up, you know, up to her, and it was like, it would just go all the way up to like yellow, orange, red. And you're not supposed to have electricity in your body, obviously. And you put it up to me. I'm sorry, it was the electrician's meter. Put it up to me, and I have no electricity coming off of me. But she and her husband were absorbing it. And she did have an entity in the house prior to that, but it was he left. But so afterwards, she kept saying all this stuff, and I'm like, I have to correct you and tell you that there's nothing in your house other than just an overabundance of electricity. And where she was sleeping, she had these lights, and it created this cage effect. You know, I can't think of the cage effect, you know, and it was wild. But so, you get cases where it's like, no, I have to be, there's nothing here. It's really nothing.
And you have to be honest, don't you, with people? Because, you know, if we suddenly went into every property and said, oh my gosh, this property is, pardon now I use this word, haunted, you know, nobody would want to live in any of these places. They'd just go, I'm not living there, I want to be out. But, you know, for me, it's having the proof that it is, you know, but also, you know, looking at the people that are there, as you were just saying, because, you know, we know that people's imaginations at times can take over a little bit. And I've had people who've been on an event, the next day they'll message me and go, oh, I took that spirit home with me. And I go, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because why is that spirit going to go from a building that's 600-700 years old and suddenly go to your new house?
I always say I always think in my head, you're not that fascinating for them to go home with you. That's the red hair coming out. Sorry, Barrie.
No, because I agree with you on that, you know, and I think, you know, I think that's a lovely way to say it to them. I'm going to start saying that when people message me with it, but that's the imagination factor. And we see it on events as well. And, you know, people try and impress us as mediums when we're on an event. They'll try and go, oh, you know, I'm picking this up, I'm getting this, and I'm getting this. And I always go, well, you could be right. I don't know, you know, because, you know, I don't want to diss what anybody's getting, but it's certainly not what I'm getting at that moment in time. But also, when people start coming out with things that I say are a little bit unbelievable, you know, and you think, okay, you know, it doesn't add up, does it, at times, you know, and you've got to be sensible about it. You know, what we're doing, I always say this to people, whenever I've done any form of TV show, I do it to try and portray us all, every one of us, in a professional light. What I don't want people is looking at it and watching it and going, he's off his rocker, you know, he's absolutely lost the plot.
Or he's fake.
Absolutely,
Well,
and I don't want
that.
It
should be, you know, because when you representing some, you know, yourself, you want to represent everybody else too as well. But you also got to let everybody know that everyone is different too, you know, because unfortunately, there are some fake ones out there. Unfortunately, you know. So you want to.
And that's the sad bit. That's the sad bit, Chrissy, isn't it? Because all of us try and do it the right way. It only takes one person to do it the wrong way, and suddenly we're all exactly the same. That's the problem.
Exactly.
And that's
Right.
what really disheartens me at times for us all, that we've all put a lot of effort in, a lot of work, a lot of time. And, you know, I want us to be seen, to be taken as credible people. I want people to come to us and go, this is a bunch of people that really know what they're on about.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I've run into a few of them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you can tell the ones that they're really passionate and they really take it to inside their heart and soul to make everything all right, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those, because I have came across some fake ones, I'm just like, no. I came across some like, oh my God, tell me more, you know. And yeah, it's sad that everybody wants to be someone, but they're not, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's a difficult situation where everybody wants to almost jump on the bandwagon now with it. You know, they want to all jump on it because it's so great to be a medium and to be known. And, you know, even to the point of readings, you know, I have a lot of people that message me and say, oh, I had a card reading with a lady down the road. Well, you probably had a very good psychic card reading with the lady down the road, but I can probably guarantee she didn't bring you any form of spirit communication in, because all she is a card reader. And no, that's not being discreditable to card readers.
No,
you know, we all
No,
work differently. Yeah, we all work differently. You know, if people come to see me, they'll get, if you want mediumship, they get mediumship, you know, and it's a big difference, you know, and it frustrates me in a way because people don't understand who they're going to see and why they're going to see them sometimes. And the worst thing for me is when you get people who just come out of fascination. They don't want to message. They've not really lost anybody, nobody close to them, as they say, which always makes me laugh when people come in and go, I've not lost anybody. And I go, all right, okay, here we go. You know, and you think you've got a very old family then, you know. But, you know, it's those sort of people that come out of fascination that no matter what any of us say, you know, all three of us could say something to them and they're just going, no, because they don't really know what they're looking for. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand that a lot. Being a card reader, I have had a lot of people that it's like, well, you didn't answer what I want to answer. But then again, they come back maybe 2-3 minutes later and go, oh my God, I should have listened to you.
Absolutely.
You know, and, you know, I think, you know, if you're going to have a reading or, you know, see a mediumship or something, you should actually look into what it's all about first, you know, research it to see, because a lot of TV shows kind of makes false, you know, assumptions that, you know, oh yeah, you would get the answers like this, you know, and it's not like that. And I can totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. Do you know, that's a really wonderful way to put that, Chrissy, you know, and I think you're absolutely right. I think before people go to see anybody, whatever it is, whether it be a psychic or a medium, whatever, I think they should do almost an element of pre-investigative work. Research. That's a nicer way to say it. Because, you know, you want to know that, is this going to be the person that can help me with the question I've got? And, you know, I don't want the questions about, am I going to get married? Am I going to have children? Am I going to marry Prince Charming?
Yeah, right.
You know, my comment to people is, well, number one, do you want to get married? If you want to get married, you'll probably get married. Do you want children? Well, yeah, you'll probably have children. If you don't want children, you probably won't have children. You know, that doesn't take me as a medium to say that. That's just me as Barry saying that to you.
Right. Because you can manifest whatever you want.
Absolutely. You know, and the other thing is, you know, whenever we see things, you know, for people, I always say to them, remember, you can change this at any time, because if you suddenly decide to walk out of my front door and turn left and not right, well, you've just changed your reading.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's free will, isn't it? That's the thing that we all talk about. It's having that free will and going, actually, I'm going to take on board what you're saying to me. And I always say, don't let me run your life, because I'm not here to run your life. I'm here to tell you of opportunities, of things that we see, of messages that are coming through. And if we can do that, that's great. But you have to be able to run your own life.
I think one of the questions I had one time, this was a very long time ago. Somebody asked me if they were married Prince Harry. And I'm just like,
Okay.
yeah, for a card reading. That was the reading, because I don't let nobody tell me what they want to be read.
I'm just going to change my mindset a minute at the moment, because I was just going to ask you what was the name of the person who asked that, and
I did too.
I was wondering.
Meghan
You just read my mind there.
Yeah.
I read your mind, Barrie.
But you do get some questions that this is like, where in the heck did you get that from?
Yeah.
And even if you don't answer the question, because I did the card reading, and she goes, "Well, am I going to marry Prince Harry?" I'm just like, I think there's some important issues in this reading that we need to look at, besides trying to think you're going to marry a prince, Prince Harry.
Prince Harry, yeah, that's.
Do you know? You see, and that's the problem, isn't it? Those are the people that don't do us any credit, really, because we all know that we can't give them what they're looking for. If you'd have said to her, "Yes, you're going to marry Prince Harry," she'd have probably been over the moon, and it'd have been all over social media, and she'd have probably contacted him and said, "I'm going to marry you."
Oh no!
Poor Meghan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other part of that too is what you get. I don't know if you get this, but it was funny because I did a gallery reading, and I had probably, I don't know, it was 15 to 20 people, I want to say. And I always say in the beginning, look, I can't determine who's going to come through. And so therefore, and I'm like you, I'm sure you probably know when you're looking at a room, you kind of know exactly where that entity is coming from. And you can kind of direct, like, I know it's probably Chrissy's grandfather, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Natalie Lucia, Cindy Kaza's friend and assistant, she had a quote that I absolutely love, and I'm going to be like you and do the humor and incorporate it into it. But I said, pure black and white, like, look, if an entity comes through, a spirit comes through, and I describe them to you and get a name and you recognize them, but you don't want to hear from them or you don't want a reading, just, raise your hand and go, yep, I can totally claim that, but I would prefer not to. Otherwise, like, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to keep peeling that onion apart until I get to who the person, and I kind of knew exactly, I got two. And I knew exactly where I was at in the room.
Yeah.
But nobody was claiming them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just set this aside. We'll come back to it. And then on the back end of it, I got a text from the woman that was hosting this. She came back and she's like, by the way, you nailed every single one of them. And I did 10 readings in 2 hours.
Yeah,
And I was like, she came back and she goes, the two that nobody claimed, I know who they belong to. And you were right. And you described them and you got the names right. Everything was spot on. So I was so frustrated afterwards, like, oh, come on, people. I spent 15 minutes and I knew I had two people that kind of flanked me in the room. And I knew that they were more desperate for a reading. And I would have loved to have given them the one as opposed to the two entities that were not claimed. Well, I thought this was great. And Natalie says, you know me, I'm from New York. She goes, and so what I say is, people claim you're dead.
I like that. I'm going to remember that.
I think you should. I'm going to use it. Like, I'm sorry, I got a friend in New York that told me this, and I'm just going to say it the same way she did. People claim you're dead.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I don't get with people. When you're doing a show like that, and you go to somebody, and you know that you're with them, and we know we're with them, and they sit there and all they do is nod their head or they go, and I go, if you're not going to talk to me, I'll just cut the link. I'll just cut the link. And they look at you as if say, well, you can't do that. And I go, oh, I can. I'll just cut the link because this is going to exhaust me. Never mind you. If you're not going to work with me. And, it's that old philosophy, isn't it? And we've seen it for years and years and years. You go and see a medium, don't talk to them, don't tell them anything, don't smile, don't cry, don't cross your legs, anything. Yeah. you know, because they've got to do their work. It's them that's got to prove it to you. And I always say to people, if you're not going to work with me on a reading, you won't get a good reading, because I will give you what I get, but I need you to go, well, yeah, I understand that. And like what you said earlier, where you were saying about if somebody can understand it, just put the hand up. You know, even if they don't want the message, just go, yeah, I can understand it, but would you move
I can
on
claim that
me?
individual, but I don't want to hear anything from them.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind. No one's going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you, and the crowd is not going to judge you, because I'm sure there's probably going to be 5 or 6 other individuals that are sitting there going, I'm the same way. I really don't want to hear from anyone.
It's difficult. And, you know, same as over here, you know, some of the shows I absolutely love doing. Other shows, I know that they're not going to go well from the beginning, because if it's in a pub function room where everybody's had a lot to drink to start off with, you just know it's going to turn into what I call a riot at some point. And people are going to be shouting in, they're going to be laughing, they're going to be joking, you know, and that's the thing that then spoils it for me, because I think I can't work now to the best of my ability. You know, you've almost disrupted my energy a little bit here.
Exactly.
You know, you've got to be mindful of that. But
absolutely.
You know, the thing is, we all do this because we want people to get something from it. We want them to get an element of what I call peace. I just want you to get peace from your reading that makes sense to you. It doesn't make sense to me because it isn't meant to make sense to me.
Right. It's not my reading.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I mean, I always say to people at the beginning, you know, I'm just a telephone receiver. Somewhere the spirit world give me information. I relay that information to you. You've got to try and understand it as well as I have to a point. You know, and if you think I'm 99% of the way there, tell me and I'll move on from it. Don't make me work for that 1%, because that could take up all night to get you that.
Exactly.
It's like what you were saying earlier, when, you know, you bring so many names through and then they'll go, yeah, but you didn't tell me my dad's name, did you?
That still just totally blows my mind when I think about that. I still sit here and go, but I gave you like 99.9% accurate information. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah. It is.
I guarantee you that I was exactly 99.9% like a Tyler Henry or a Teresa Caputo or any of these big TV names, you know, here in America. But it's like, really? Okay.
But again, you see, what people see is that little snippet of that reading, don't they? That where, you know, oh my gosh, everything was right. Well, okay. But what about the rest of the reading then?
Yeah, just like that woman said to you, I wanted more. Like,
absolutely,
hey,
absolutely.
And here's my business card. Go on my website. A one-on-one reading, and I'd be more than happy to go, you know, deeper, darker, whatever you want. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, 28 hours later, I'm going to be dead to the world. So don't contact me because it brings my energy level. You know.
I think they think that we've just got all night. We've got all night to sit there and talk to people all night, and you know, I mean, people still throw the classics into me and go, so when you're at home, do they come and talk to you in your sleep and at night, you know? And I go, no, because I tell them to clear off. I tell them, no, not tonight, because it's my bedtime now. And if I'm not, if I'm not sleeping and resting, I can't do what I do for you, you know? And I mean, the days of where people used to send me messages and go, oh, spirit woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I got my notepad out and I started writing all the notes down. And I just go, well, you must be mad. You must be mad.
No boundaries. Yeah,
absolutely.
No boundaries.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I teach all of my students, boundaries. You know, my boundary is my bedroom doorway. Spirits stay one side of it, I go the other side of it. You know, the other one is a bathroom for obvious reasons, as I always say to people. You know, and I always say, not my bedroom, not my bathroom.
Not my bathroom.
Well, Barrie, before we end the show, is there anything about you that we did not touch base on that you would like to promote yourself on?
Oh gosh, probably just all the ghost hunts and that. Yeah, you've got me there. Do you know, that's the first time I've ever been stumped for words. Probably just all the ghost hunts that we do. You know, we do a lot of ghost hunts in the UK. a lot of sort of Midlands based areas we do now, very repetitive areas, because, you know, I'm getting too old for all the travel now, you know, at 21. Just remember, I'm only 21.
That's right.
But you know, I'm getting too tired of all the travel now, and I don't do this where we stay up till 4 and 5 in the morning anymore either. You know, by sort of midnight, I want to be on my way home, heading to my nice comfy bed, so that I can get a good night's rest. And people always laugh about that, but you know, I think in terms of what we do, you know, we cover so many areas. We all do, you know, as mediums. But one thing for me is about giving back to people, you know, whether that be a charity or an organization, whether it be giving back to a business. You know, I always make sure that everybody who I do an event for comes out and has done well from it, if I can word it as that, because I think this isn't just an ability that it should be take. It should be something that's there to be able to give as well at the same time. You know, and I know that if somebody's desperate for a reading, I will make sure that I can get them in for a reading if they need to, you know. But, you know, like everywhere, we have waiting lists. Unfortunately, we have a list of people on the cancellation list just in case somebody drops out. But, you know, people can be waiting 10, 12 months for a reading with me at times. And it's not that I don't want to read them. It's the fact I've got to be careful, because I also have a life, a home life with a partner and, you know, my own home, that I want to enjoy that. I don't just get up in the morning and start at 9 o'clock and go through till 11 o'clock at night, just doing reading after reading, because you can't do that, you know. And, you know, that's the other thing, you know, about social media. Sorry, I know I'm keeping you both, but it's like social media, isn't it? Somebody will send you a message and go, "Can you do me a reading now?" And like, no, sorry, I can't. No, because it don't work like that for me. You know, but you know, I've just got to say, it's been a pleasure to work with you both. You just, I love your energy. You're so bubbly. And the thing I love, it's a funny sort of interview in a way. You've got that wonderful sense of humor, both of you, that I love, you know, and I'm just cheeky, you know, I'm very cheeky, and I love having a sense of humor. But you're welcome. Anytime I can help you, you know where I am.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much.
I'm hoping that you can go ahead and contact some friends, and we could just have a powwow. I think it'd be nice. I'm up for it. So, but yeah. So this is not a goodbye. This is see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful job. Oh, you're brilliant. Well, I mean, obviously here now it's 7 o'clock at night now, so we're about to settle in. You guys are probably just not starting your day, but you've still got a lot to do.
Yeah. My day doesn't end until probably about 11 o'clock. Actually, I watch my daughter's kids while they're out of town working. So yeah, and there's 4 kids with 2 toddlers. So
she's got her hands full.
I bet you have. Yeah, I bet you have. Well done to you. But no, thank you, honestly, on behalf of me, and I'm hoping that you'll see people who have been in the chat room who come on your show as well. And I hope they do, you know, drop you an email or a message on Facebook and go, yeah, you know, we'd be delighted to support you. But I think doing that, I don't know, that let's call it paranormal unity would be terrific, because I think it'd be nice for us all to go, well, how do you do it? And what do you do? And how does that work? And could we try that? And I think that's a terrific idea. I really do.
It is. It is terrific. But for everybody that is new to our show, please jump over, subscribe, share, and like. And until next time, many blessings. And Barry, stay on for just a few minutes after we end the show. And blessings, everybody. Good day.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Everyone. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.